This is the Xiaomi 13 Lite, the company's newly released mid-range phone. The Xiaomi 13 Lite faces a lot of competition, so how value-packed is it? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. The Xiaomi 13 Lite looks to attract consumers in the crowded mid-range market with a suite of competitive features. It brings quite a few changes since last year's model, including a new chipset, a larger battery, a curved display, and a dual selfie camera setup. The 13 Lite is made from glass, with a plastic frame. The 3-step camera bump with a separate black dot for the macro cam is something new. Also, rather than having a flat, angular design, this year's glass panels curve into a frame that's razor thin. Besides the curved glass and wider notch, the Xiaomi 13 Lite's display is very similar to last year's. It's a 6.55-inch OLED with a 1080p resolution and a 120Hz refresh rate. This is one of the few phones that supports 12-bit color depth on the display. You also get support for HDR10+ and Dolby Vision. The picture is sharp and contrasty, and the colors can be quite accurate depending on the color settings you choose. The Xiaomi 13 Lite's display is also plenty bright. We measured a maximum of around 510 nits with the manual slider, and this can boost up to 940 nits in auto mode when in bright sun. The refresh rate control is pretty straightforward. You get 120Hz to smooth out your swiping and scrolling, and when you stop interacting with the screen, it'll dial down to 60Hz to save energy. The Xiaomi 13 Lite has just a single bottom-firing speaker, a downgrade from the previous model's stereo setup. There is Dolby Atmos support, but neither the loudness nor the sound quality are impressive here. The Xiaomi 13 Lite comes with 128 or 256 gigs of storage on board that isn't expandable through microSD. You can wake up and unlock the Xiaomi 13 Lite with the under-display fingerprint reader. And if you hold down your finger, you can use it to launch an app or function as soon as the phone is unlocked. The interface of the phone is Xiaomi's latest MIUI 14. For some reason it's running on Android 12 here, while the flagships come with Android 13. MIUI 14 hasn't changed a whole lot compared to previous versions, but it does bring behind-the-scenes optimizations for better performance. One new feature you'll find on the Xiaomi 12 Lite is large folders on the home screen, which are a convenient way to save space. But for some reason, the newest Xiaomi phones are still missing most of MIUI 14's unique new features, which we saw when the UI launched in China. What you get is a pretty standard Xiaomi interface that feels quite familiar. The Xiaomi 13 Lite brings a new high-end mid-range chipset, the Snapdragon 7 Gen 1. It's an evolution of the Snapdragon 700 series, and is meant to be a considerable improvement over the Xiaomi 12 Lite's Snapdragon 778G. However, in benchmarks, it seems like just a modest upgrade over what we saw in the previous model. The CPU performance is basically identical, and the GPU scores are just slightly better. The performance is about as good as you can get without flagship-grade silicon. The problem is, at this price point, there are many competitors that can offer just that. The Xiaomi 13 Lite has a 4500 mAh battery, a larger capacity than last year. However, the battery life actually seems to be a bit less than the Xiaomi 12 Lites, both in our screen on and screen off tests. It's still decent though, with an overall endurance rating of 93 hours. You get the same 67-watt charging as last year, and again it's super fast. We were able to charge the Xiaomi 13 Lite from 0 to 83% in half an hour. Now onto the cameras. The Xiaomi 13 Lite has a triple camera setup on the back, which includes a 50-megapixel main cam, an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, and a 2-megapixel macro cam. During the day, photos from the main cam come out nice. They're plenty sharp, with enough detail, low noise, and excellent dynamic range. The colors are more conservative than what we're used to seeing from Xiaomi. Portraits from the main cam leave a bit to be desired in terms of overall sharpness and detail, especially in less than ideal lighting conditions. The edge detection isn't perfect either, in particular around the hair. Photos from the ultra-wide camera are decent. The contrast and colors look nice, and the dynamic range is great. The detail level and sharpness aren't too impressive though. The macro camera produces mediocre close-up photos with the level of detail you'd expect at 2 megapixels. As soon as the light drops, the Xiaomi 13 Lite automatically shoots in night mode. These photos from the main cam come out clean and well exposed, with pleasant colors and plenty of sharpness. The dynamic range is wide, and the phone does a good job in containing light sources. You have the option to disable the night mode, and the photos are still pretty good. They remain well exposed and highlights are handled well, but there is more noise, especially in shadows, and the colors are less saturated. The ultra-wide camera struggles at night, regardless of whether the auto night mode is active or not. Images are just too soft with washed out colors, and they're quite noisy. Now onto the selfie performance. You might imagine the dual front cameras to be quite interesting, but it's a bit misleading. Like last year, you get a 32 megapixel front-facing cam, but it's missing autofocus now. And the second 8 megapixel unit is just a depth sensor for portrait mode. Selfies are underwhelming in general. They're rather soft and grainy, and the detail level leaves more to be desired. At least the colors and contrast are nice. The selfie portrait mode seems to be just a tad better on the 13 Lite compared to your average mid-ranger due to the extra depth sensor. Still, it isn't perfect, and you can see some errors in tricky areas like hair. The Xiaomi 13 Lite can record video with the main cam and up to 4K resolution at 60 FPS. 4K video looks great, with true-to-life colors, good detail and sharpness, great contrast, and wide dynamic range. The ultra-wide camera is limited to 1080p resolution. Its videos look quite soft, with narrow dynamic range and washed-out colors. There's some visible noise too. There is electronic stabilization available for both cameras, and even in 4K. It does a good job. So that's the Xiaomi 13 Lite. The display here is really nice, even flagship grade. And you also get a powerful mid-range chipset, fast charging, and good performance from the main camera. There are a few missteps though. You only get a single speaker, the dual selfie camera feels gimmicky, and the selfies aren't great anyway. And while we're at it, the ultra-wide and macro camera don't add a whole lot of value here either. But the worst part is that the Xiaomi 13 Lite's launch price is quite high. There are many more competitive options out there, and unless its price goes down, the Xiaomi 13 Lite is tough to recommend. Thanks for watching guys. If you're looking for alternatives to the Xiaomi 13 Lite, you could start off with the Xiaomi 12T. Another nice option could be the Realme GT2. Let us know what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next one.